Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger. My friends, we are here today to talk some Street Fighter and a specific character from Street Fighter being T.Hawk. Now, I'm going to be the first to admit here, I'm something of a T.Hawk superfan. You'll find T.Hawk on my Twitter profile. You'll find him on top of my Twitch channel. You'll find him on top of the banner on this channel here on YouTube. I love T.Hawk. And this video specifically is here to tell you why I love T.Hawk and maybe why you should love T.Hawk as well. Because there's a lot of cool things about this character over the years. Like on the surface level, yeah, he's really big. Yeah, he slams you around pretty dang good. Lots of characters are like that in fighting games, and a lot of people like those kind of characters. And if you're an Avengers fan, the whole Hulk slam puny god deal, he stole that from T.Hawk, just so you know. But a lot of the coolest stuff about T.Hawk is how he works in the various games he's in. He has a lot of unique mechanics and tricks that work for him. So I figured I'd dedicate this video just to showcase some of them off, just so you can understand why I think T.Hawk is as cool as he is. Just as a quick history lesson here, T.Hawk made his debut in Street Fighter II: The New Challengers. This version of the game also introduced DJ, Fei Long, and Cammy. So while he's there in original Street Fighter II, he wasn't exactly there from the start. And one of the coolest things about him off the bat was he was an alternative to Zangief. Zangief was the grappler, obviously enough, of the game, right? And T.Hawk showed up and he did things a little differently. He was a grappler like Zangief, yes, but he was faster. He had more options for movement. His range was a little bit better. He had advantages that Zangief did not have. Granted, to be sure, he didn't also have all the strength Zangief had either, right? But if you like that playstyle Zangief offered, but you wanted an alternative take on it, T.Hawk was the first guy to do it. He also had an uppercut, which at the time was a very big deal because Zangief didn't. Not to mention he had a level of air mobility which was absolutely crazy at the time, especially for a big character. And of course, sure enough, he had the command grab, right? And I always loved the command grab because it just seems so much more vicious than the spinning pile driver because he's dunking you on your head. And now to get into the meat of this, the command grab is exactly why T.Hawk is so exciting in the older games. Because it has one fundamental massive difference over the Zangief command grab, which completely changes the way T.Hawk wants to play. You see, when Zangief you whiff a grab, right, you get the whiff animation. That's basically your penalty for not getting the grab, right? You're stuck in the animation, then you can get hit. T.Hawk does not have a whiff animation. If he does not connect the pile driver, whatever button you hit just comes out by itself. Meaning, unlike Zangief, when you whiff a command grab, you just get an attack instead. And this wildly changes so much about the character. What's nominally a weakness now becomes a strength. Combine that with how the game reads inputs and you get some really nasty stuff. So look at this here. So I walk forward and I do the pile driver. That's crazy, right? But wait a second, let's look at my inputs here. All you saw on my inputs was me doing the motions. You didn't even see me hit the button. And I still got my pile driver. So what sorcery is this exactly? So if you've ever heard the term negative edge, this is exactly what this is. The game counts you letting go of a button the same as it does you pressing a button. So if I hold down whatever given punch button that gives me my Mexican Typhoon, do the motion, then let go, it counts as me doing the move. Now, he's hardly the only character in the game in Super Turbo that can abuse the negative edge stuff, right? Like there's an example of Zangief doing it. But the thing is, even if you use the negative edge, right? If you whiff the grab, you get the whiff animation, because that's how that works. Except that's not how that works for T.Hawk. If you do the negative edge version where you let go of the button as you do your move, nothing comes out at all. No whiff, no button, no nothing. If they're in range, they get grabbed, but otherwise you just return the neutral. So with this in mind, you get to play a completely different grappling game than Zangief does, and you get a lot of really cool options from it. So let me show you some examples. So in Super Turbo, there's a lot of bad things you could say about T.Hawk, but his stand jab is not one of them. It's a great, fantastic move. And it's a prime way to abuse this command grab tech. You do your jab, your light punch, hold the button, do the motion, let go, and now you're doing a tick walking forward pile driver. So after the jab, you want to do your command grab motion the way that you end in forward, and then you can take a tiny step forward and let go of the button, and it'll give you the command grab. Very powerful tech. Another thing you can do to give yourself more chances to get this off, because the timing is incredibly strict, I'm not going to lie, is when you hit jab, then immediately hold the other punch buttons, do the motion, then try your best to let go of the punch buttons one by one, not at the same time, and those all count as different inputs of the pile driver motion. So if it works, and if it doesn't, then nothing comes out and you're good to go. You're protected, you don't get anything coming out you don't want to come out. This technique is often known as the Sacco tick, FYI. Couple more examples just to show you how deep the rabbit hole goes on this, right? So crouching jabs is a big part of any fighting game offense. So T.Hawk can crouch jab you, hold the button, do the 360 motion, let go of the button, and get a pile driver on you. And notice too, the way I'm doing the motion, it ends in down back. So for whatever reason, I don't get the pile driver, I'm just crouch blocking. Which means if it whiffs for whatever reason, it means I'm, for the most part, pretty much safe from everything. So now let me introduce you to T.Hawk's jump jab punch. So it's basically active all the way from when you press the button to when you hit the ground, and it has a big hitbox and it beats basically everything that's not invincible. And just like all these other setups, I can hold the button, do my pile driver motion, and then just let go of the button, and if you're there to be grabbed, it'll automatically do the grab, and if not, I ended my motion and down back, so I'm crouch blocking. So what does all this mean in a practical sense? Well, it basically means Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo is a much more savage game than you might remember it. So if you get it, great. Say you know it's coming, I'll just jump. Okay. T.Hawk just blocks, he crouches. That's it. Nothing comes out, there's no whiff. Which means he can now punish you jumping. Okay, screw this, I'll just dragon punch out of it, I'm not going to deal with this. No. Remember, he ends in down back, there's no whiff. So if you mash uppercut, you mash reversal, he just blocks it. So how do you beat this? You don't. Once again, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo is not quite the friendly game you might remember it being. Lots of characters have a lot of really, really dirty stuff. This is just T.Hawk's brand of it. But that said, this is one of the reasons why I absolutely love T.Hawk to death. It's one of the coolest things any grappler can do in any fighting game. This is why I love Street Fighter 2 T.Hawk. Let's talk why I love Street Fighter 4 T.Hawk. Now, Street Fighter 4 T.Hawk's not quite as vicious as Super Turbo T.Hawk, right? He has whiff animations on his grabs now, for one. So he can't quite do the old tricks, but still, he's got some fun stuff. Being a grappler, you know, the command grab is life. You want to do anything you can do to get the command grab, and he has a lot of fun tricks with that in mind. Spacing normals with Condor Dive is always a fun one. Depending which button you press, you can either be just hit with the tip of the move and be neutral or slightly plus, or just barely whiff and then go for the command grab once they're attuned and just want to block it. One of the fun things of how his grabs worked is you got to choose. Do you want options or do you want damage? The light grab left them directly in front of you, but not too much damage, and the heavier grabs would leave them further but more damage, right? So you could sacrifice damage for set play, basically. The light Mexican Typhoon specifically left you in position to make it just easy, you know, left-right cross-ups that are pretty ambiguous. And a pretty fun auto-time setup if you just whiff stand jab, then immediately jump forward and do your cross-up attack. If it hits, whatever, right? But it makes all sorts of uppercuts whiff. And man, back in the Street Fighter 4 days, people, they mashed that reversal like their life depended on it. So if you did a reversal, you got punished, and if you were passive, you just blocked and I still get my pressure. Except it didn't work on Ken because his uppercut is really stupid. But for most of the cast, if they want to spam reversal and wake up, this crushed it for free. Another really fun gimmick Street Fighter 4 is abusing how the system itself works and how it reads attacks. So T.Hawk has the grappler jump, right? The body splash that hits both sides, very easy to get cross-ups with. A lot of grapplers on a lot of fighting games have it. It's very expected. If you get hit with it, it's basically your own fault. Of course they're going to go for it. It's a very strong jump. T.Hawk also has jumping down medium punch as a command normal. And jumping down medium punch only can hit air to air. But even if it can't hit a grounded opponent, it will trigger a grounded block response. There's nothing to block, but the character will try to block it. So enter the gimmicks. So when you cross up, they're going to expect the body splash, and sure enough, right? But you can whiff the air down medium, trigger a block, even though there's nothing to block, right? And you land instantly, no recovery. Which means you're going to grab them, right? So while they're expecting the usual grappler cross-up, you basically can trick them and get a greasy grab instead. 9 times out of 10 works 100% of the time. And lots of other fun stuff, like he can create setups where he gets instant overhead into Condor Dive. Against very tall characters like Hugo, he can do it whenever he wants. He doesn't even need the setups. Despite being such a big grappler, he does reward precision as well, like the Condor Dive itself. Great move, but hideously unsafe on block, right? That's the penalty for being able to travel the whole screen whenever you want. However, if you aim it perfectly right at their ankles, instead of bouncing off, you just land. That's it. And depending on how you do it and depending on the character, you can be neutral to plus on block instead of punishable. Just a little bit of T.Hawk tech. And speaking of that precision, you can turn what would normally be a regular jump and angle, no cross up, into a cross up, thanks to the Condor Dive. It'll hit on the other side of the enemy. He's got some tricky stuff. And all that is just literally the tip of the iceberg, both for Street Fighter 4 and for Street Fighter 2. T.Hawk has so much stuff going on. This video is here basically to convince you that T.Hawk is a super cool character and worth your time. And maybe in a stealth way to cast my vote for T.Hawk in the upcoming Street Fighter 6, whenever that will be. I know T.Hawk doesn't have the most riveting story in all the fighting games, right? He's not gonna wow you like Chun-Li or Sub-Zero or something like that, but he's a damn cool character and you should pay him some mind. And hopefully in this video, teaching you some of the stuff he's capable of throughout some of the games he's been in has done exactly that. If I got one more member of the T.Hawk army out of this video, then the video is well worth it in the end. So here's hoping to Street Fighter 6, I guess, because I would absolutely love to see T.Hawk in that game for sure. And otherwise, I guess it's the end of the video. So if you could give a like for T.Hawk, the man himself, that would be greatly appreciated. And otherwise, thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Street Fighter.